Okay, so today I'm going to be revisiting a project I wanted to do a while ago but kind of gave up on for lack of interest, I guess. But I'm going to revisit today because I really want to get it going because I actually have the supplies on hand now to do it. I bought this Dremel going on 2 years ago, and when I first got it, it worked fantastically. It would charge fast, I was able to use it for a decent amount of time, and it was just an amazing Dremel. Still is, but the battery, however, has declined over the 2 years I've owned it. And I'm lucky if I get about 10 minutes use out of it before it slows down and pretty much is useless, because once it slows down to a certain point, it doesn't cut and it doesn't grind. So I have to charge it, wait, and it was just a pain in the ass. So what I did was I ended up hooking up my own power supply. As you can see here, I took out the mechanism that would switch the battery high and low state, and I added my own power cord that went to a 12 volt power adapter that was just way too much for it. It ran it hot as hell. But it worked, and it still works, so I want to revisit this today and make a new battery for it, a new battery pack. I did try making a battery pack using lithium-ion batteries, but that was just way too... The battery I used is just way too sensitive. I had a 5 volt lithium-ion battery pack that was capable of 2.5 amps. It was for a tablet, and I hooked it up to it just to see what it would do, and it drew way too much current when I seized the motor, and it pretty much just burnt out the charge controller. So I'm not going to go that route again. I am, however, going to go NiCad again, because it's pretty much the same voltage I'll be working with, and I can still use the same charger for it, and I'll explain that in a second. So yeah, we're going to take a look at the old battery first. Now on this Dremel, you can see how it says high and low. How it's selected high and low is actually pretty interesting. And if you look at the battery, you can see there are 4 contacts instead of 2. You know, a standard battery of any kind would have normally 2 contacts, positive, negative, and sometimes for like cell phone batteries would be a 3rd contact. But for just standard batteries, there's just normally 2 contacts. But for this one, you can see 4. That means there are 2 cells in here. There's a positive, negative, positive, negative. Each cell, as you can see, it's supposed to be 4.8 volts total. So each cell is 2.4 volts on a good day. I just measured both cells. I got 2 volts on one and 1 volt on the other. So it's declining, and it's pretty obvious. And how it worked is the high and low would be selected based on the voltage. So if you wanted a high power, you would select 4.8 volts. And if you wanted low power, you would slide the switch over and you select only one cell, which is 2.4 volts. And the way they did this was actually kind of interesting. They had I threw it out, so I'm sorry about that, but they had a little copper, it was like a switch thing that had a bunch of copper legs on it that would, if you slide it, would either run 2 batteries, both cells in series, which is 4.8 volts, or it would select just one cell, which is 2.4 volts, and it would have a center off. So it worked really cool. But like I said, I need to make my own battery pack, and I really can't continue off that mechanism, so I have to make my own, probably like a little box to hold all the cells or something. So right now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I actually have a source of batteries that I want to use, and it is involved in this 12 volt NiCad drill battery. I got a new drill recently. It's a nice Black & Decker drill, so I'm 100% okay with taking this apart, because the drill that it belongs to just sucks. I have never really heard of Ultra Steel. I only bought it because it was like $15, and I really needed a drill at the time. And it works, but whenever I was drilling something deeper than like 2 inches, the bit that I would be using would get stuck and it would stop spinning, while the mechanism that holds the bit would continue to spin. And that would put just these weird strip lines on all my bits. So I'm more than happy to repurpose this battery and the motor and just get rid of the drill itself, because it really does suck. Now, I said I want to use the same charger for this, and that's going to be easily accomplished with this. And I also want to use the same voltage selection, which is going to be a little bit more confusing, but possible. So within this, it's a 12 volt NiCad battery, so each cell is probably 1.2 volts each. That's the standard for NiCads. And if it's 1.2 volts each and it's a 12 volt battery, that means there's 10 cells in this. 10 probably really tiny NiCad cells in it. And I want to use, I'd say 8 of them. So there's going to be 2 left over, and I'll probably find something to do with those later on. But my idea is to get the same setup as this, but increase it a little bit, make it a little bit better. Since I'm using 8 cells, I want to run all of them. I want to get each cell in parallel with another cell, and have that in series create 2.4 volts, and then have another selection, like another set of that to the side of it that's also 2.4 volts with two cells in parallel with each other. So that way I increase the capacity, and then I'll have my own switching mechanism that will select the high voltage and then the low voltage for my power. So I'll explain that in a little bit. I'm just going to take apart this battery real fast and see what I'm working with. Now, taking apart batteries is highly recommended not to. The warning stickers and all that says not to. So only do this if you have, knowledge on what you're doing. I'm not responsible for anything. Or if you use this as a motivation or whatever, inspiration to do it yourself, just be sure to pretty much just be aware of all the risks, and I'm not responsible for anything. Little disclaimer. I just figured it was perfect timing. I could remake my battery and use my Dremel like I used to, and that's pretty much the only reason why I want to do this, because I do miss using my Dremel. What I would normally do is put the drill bit, or the Dremel bit in my drill and use it that way, and that's just a pain because it's just way too big, and it wasn't fast enough in most cases. Okay, so nothing on that side. Alright, so 3, 6, 9, looking like 10 cells, I think. Yeah, 10 little NiCad cells, like they're really tiny, about like an inch and a half. Let's see, 1.2 volts each, 1000 milliamp hours, which is 1 amp hour. And yeah, really tiny, so this is perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretty much get them out of this package and resolder them up to my liking. I'll show you exactly what I want to do on my whiteboard right now. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's 10 cells here. I can't really tell. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? I don't know. Looks like there might be 11. I can't really tell with this cardboard thing on it. Little piece of cardboard. I'm just going to peel that off real fast to get a count. So 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Alright, so there is 10 cells. I don't know why I was thinking there was 11. How they're arranged was kind of throwing me off. But there is 10 cells, and it's really easy. These are all ran in series to create 12 volts. So it has a lifetime of 1000 milliamp hours if it's only used for the drill. But I'm going to repurpose it. I'm going to rearrange the batteries. And in my way of doing so, I'll still be able to use this charger. But I will have to take it apart and pretty much just work with that, because it's going to be kind of a pain in the ass to get these contacts right here, because they charge the packs or these cells individually just like the battery is, which is good because you don't want to charge series cells with a different voltage on each one. So yeah, so I'm going to repurpose this because the high voltage I'm looking at on this cell that I'm going to be making is 4.8 volts. So let's look at the whiteboard, and hopefully I can explain my voltage selection or power selection a little bit more, then we'll hack this pack. Okay, so here is my wiring diagram for the batteries. As you can see, there are 2 cells, 2 cells, 2 cells, and 2 cells. The reason for this is I can double the capacity and I can use as many batteries as I possibly can. So instead of just one 1000 milliamp hour battery, I got 2, which is 2000 milliamp hours. I might have made a mistake and I might have said 1000 milliamps earlier, but it would in fact be 2 amps, which is... yeah, it would be 2000 milliamp hours, which is 2 amp hours. So if I made a mistake there, I'm just clearing that up now. So instead of having a 1000 milliamp hour runtime or 1000 milliamp hour capacity, I now have 2000 milliamp hours. This means it can output more current for a longer time, which is good, and that way I get to use as many batteries as I possibly can. So I only have 2 left over, which I'll figure something out. So here is the diagram. It's pretty simple. I got motor right there. That is representing the Dremel itself. There's an on-off switch for that, so I don't have to unplug anything or anything like that. And then to select the voltage, I came up with a very simple way of doing it. This single pole double throw switch selects the voltage for me. The way it works is it selects which ground to go to, and it pretty much selects which battery pack I want to be grounded to. So if the switch is going right here, which is going to this ground right here, I'm selecting the high voltage because now it's running in series. This is disconnected, but if I switch the switch over to this switch, it selects this ground, which is the 2.4 volts, and only that battery is being ran. So it's a very simple way of doing it. I had a more complex way of doing it, which involved a double pole double throw switch, but it got a little too confusing, and the double pole double throw switch I have is way too big, and I really don't want to use it. It's just a way really big overkill switch. It's the only one I can find, and I don't want to use it. I'll save it for something else. Plus, it doesn't work how a toggle switch would normally work. That kind of annoyed me, but This is the diagram I want to go with, so we're going to move over to my workbench and start cutting the cells and soldering up to my liking. Okay, so this is probably going to be the hardest part of this video, is disconnecting the tabs that are on the batteries originally, which is probably, my guess, maybe welded. I'm not entirely sure how they assembled this. But yeah, it will be the most challenging part because it's going to be hard to rip those connections up. But all I have to do is disconnect them. I got my scissors and diagonal cutters somewhere, just so I can use those as well. I just got to find them, where the hell I put them. Oh, there they are. So let's rip a few apart. I'm not going to do all of them on camera just to save time, but I'll do, I guess this one, I'll rip one off. But yeah, they look like they might be welded just by looking at it. So first off, I'm just going to snip the positive and negative wires, get rid of that. My guess is there's nothing going on with the circuit board other than running contacts, which may be nice to hold on to. So put that aside. Don't want to get these close to each other, so I'm just going to snip it again. Alright, and then I'm going to get rid of this cardboard piece on this side, the best I can. Alright, and now for the tape. They're already feeling a little bit loose, which is good. So they should come apart rather easily. It's my hope anyways. Yeah, they're all ran in series with each other, so it really should not be that big of a deal, and hopefully these just snip. They do, thank God. So, also I can just do all this on camera then, so it'll be really easy. Positive side is actually labeled, which is cool, but also very obvious. It's the top with the least surface area, and the bottom is the ground with the most surface area, or exposed surface area, so I need 8 of these. Also, you would probably hear a bit of caution. Like I just said, hacking battery packs isn't the safest thing. As you can see there, I just shorted. That wasn't a good sign. Just shorted, and there was a little bit of a spark. Alright, so like I said, proceed with caution with this. Don't go in it. Yeah, I have experience with this, but I seriously just made a mistake by shorting. I think I shorted. I don't know what happened there. But anyways, yeah, there was this little spark, so I'm just going to snip that one and get it out of there. Get that one done. I don't know what happened there. But yeah. Just be careful when doing this, and also if you're uncomfortable with it, don't do it, because there's always a bit of a risk when it comes to hacking battery packs. So just be careful. Yeah, I can't stress that part enough. Yeah, I think I got too close to the cells. That's why it might have sparked like that. I don't know if you saw that on camera, but it happened. Now, mistakes happen, so it's okay. As long as there's no injuries involved. So yeah, I'm just going to snip. Let's see, I got 5 right now. I just need 3 more, and I'll put the rest aside. It's just hard going back and forth, but yeah. Just got to be really careful with where I put my scissors, apparently. Because these things are powerful. And how often do you see a 1.2 volt battery doing that? There we go. So yeah, I recommend getting some really good scissors. These are sharp, really sharp scissors. They're kind of like 10 snips. That's what I bought them for, is because they can cut metal decently. Not really thick metal, but decent metal. So I'm on the 8th battery now. And again, I'm actually going to go with this one right here. Just to... Alright, cool. So I got my 8 cells. The 2 cells that are left over, I'm going to put those somewhere safe. So hopefully they don't do anything. Tabs. Yep, I do. I do. Yeah, I was actually able to get solder to flow, so that's a good sign. So, I'm going to wire these up in parallel, like I said, which actually would be kind of easy because the tabs are left over, so it'll make wiring them up in parallel a little bit easier. Just gonna pull off this adhesive stuff. So, I'm going to get this set going right here. Positive to positive, or parallel. Like I said, the reason why I'm wiring this up in parallel is for 2 reasons. I want to pretty much use as many batteries as I can, also double the runtime for my Dremel, because like I said, that was an issue before, so that's my reason behind that. So I'm just going to wire up one of these cells in parallel on camera for you guys, and do the rest off camera to save time. Solder is actually flowing really well to these tabs. It's pretty nice. The other ones. So here's one of 4, which turned out really nice. I was able to save the tab and use that. So I'm going to do the rest of these off camera. I'll secure it with electrical tape when it's all said and done. But let's measure the voltage output just for fun. Should be right around 1.2 volts, maybe a little less, because I don't remember if I charged this drill or not, but should be around 1.2 volts. I won't measure the current because I don't want to, but I don't know if you can see that, but I won't lie to you guys. 1.24 volts, so cool. 1.2, we'll say. So cool, it worked. Alright, so I'm going to finish the rest of these off camera because I don't want to keep you guys waiting too long. Okay, so I finished soldering up my packs. Here's one of the packs. 4 in the pack, as you saw the whiteboard. This is the negative, and this is the positive, and this is where they're joined in series. And the other pack, which is the exact same thing. I was actually able to use some of the tabs to join the connections, which helped a lot. So right now we're going to measure the voltage of an individual pack, which should be around 2.4 volts. Keep in mind we have 2 cells in series and 2 cells in parallel in series with 2 other cells in parallel, if that doesn't confuse you enough. So here is my multimeter, or multimeter as Ben Heck would call it. Hopefully you can see that. Should be able to. I'm going to go close up there. Yep. Alright, so let's test the voltage. Output. Alright. Grab Louise. Alright, so it should measure around 2.4 volts. Oh, 2.5. Cool. And let's measure the other one, which is a spitting image of it. And 2.5. Oh, they're right around each other. So now, 2.5 would be the low voltage on the Dremel. Now keep in mind, there is like a give or take percentage with battery voltages, like 9 volts can sometimes be 10 and whatnot. So this is around the same ballpark. So I'm going to take this gator clip and connect both these packs in series to get the high voltage we would need to control the Dremel at high speed. So we take a positive and connect it to a negative. This mechanism right here shows both batteries in series, which is what you would want on high voltage. So this becomes the new ground. The output, the positive output is the same. So we're switching ground and disconnecting a series pack. So it's really not that complicated, but again, it's confusing. So now we should have double the voltage, which should be right around 5 or 5.1. 5.1 exactly. Look at that. I'm a mathematician, a mathologist. Okay, so I got all the wiring done for it. Really simple. I have a on-off switch right here. It interrupts ground. My schematic shows the switch being placed in between the positive, but I just did ground because it's easier. And here is my voltage selection switch. Single pole, double throw. Center common is the ground that goes to the motor of the Dremel, and these 2 yellow wires go to each individual ground for a pack. So like if it's flipped this way, which is connected to this one right now, it selects this pack, which is by itself 2.4 volts. And if it's thrown this way, it selects this pack, which is ran in series with that one, which is 4.8 volts. I might have just gotten that wrong, actually. No, I didn't. It's good. It's confusing to look at, but yeah, that's right. So we're going to test it out right now. Here is the charging jack I hooked up. A little tunnel plug I just salvaged, and I got the charger for it right over here. Really weird. I took apart the Dremel charger, and I was surprised by how much isn't in it. It's just a transformer, a tiny rectifier involving 2 diodes, a capacitor, And that's it. Also an LED to show that it's charging. Really simple. I'm surprised by how simple it actually is. And then the wire that I just soldered this wire to it to give me some length. So I have to figure something out with this. I have to put it inside of a case because I can't just leave it out like that because it's kind of irresponsible because I don't want anything shorting or anything stupid. So let's figure something out there. But let's give it a test. We'll set it to the low setting first and power it on. It's working, so now we're going to flick it over to high. And low. So it works, and it's a really cool repurpose of these batteries. I have yet to actually give it an official test. I'm sure I'll probably be needing it sooner than later. Simply because I use this grindstone a lot for a lot of stuff. So now I just have to figure out a case. I'm trying to see if I could repurpose the case for the battery pack itself so I don't have to worry about making anything, and it seems almost possible. It really does. I just have to drill some holes and stuff for switches and maybe hollow out some stuff on the inside, but it does seem possible. I'm gonna try that real fast, but yeah. It'd be nice if I could repurpose this because I don't have to make a case or anything, which would be really cool. So I'm going to cut some holes into this right now and see if I could possibly repurpose this. Okay, so I was actually able to fit everything inside of the old battery pack, which is cool. I got my cells in there, which is kind of shocking because I added a bunch of bulk with my new wiring. So that kind of worked out well. I got both these switches right here, the voltage selection switch, the on-off switch, and the DC tunnel plug that I'll use for charging. The charger is another topic of conversation, or maybe for another video even, but in short, I'll have to make a new case for that and whatnot. Also, I found out that it charges both the cells in series, not separately, which is kind of surprising because I thought it would charge them separately. Because if you're only choosing the low voltage, you're draining that one more than you are the other cell, so you wouldn't want to charge them in series because it's a different voltage. So I was kind of surprised by that, but you know what, it works. I have hope for this battery. I think it's going to last a while since I only used it for probably like 2 months total. I got a new Black & Decker drill, and I don't need this one anymore. I don't need the Ultra Steel drill anymore. As you can see, I already gutted it for its parts because I got bored. But yeah, everything fits, and thanks for watching, and a quick demo on. This is the 2.4 volts, and let's switch over to the 4.8. So yeah, you can imagine this performing a lot better than the previous battery pack, which is really cool. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to post them, and stay tuned for more videos if you'd like, and subscribe if you want to. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.